and I swear I love wearing flannels to kind of get me in that fall mode, even though it's not quite there yet, but we're getting close. Anyways, enough rambling. Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's Tara Noe here, and today I want to talk about how I met my husband and what his job in the military entailed and kind of our life being a military family. So in 2010, I met my husband in Georgia. He was stationed at Fort Stewart, and he was a military police officer at that time, so he was a police officer. And in 2010, very shortly after we had met, and actually this is September 20th, 25th-ish, that's actually right around the time we met, so we're coming up on, 8 years, man, time flies so fast, of actually, our anniversary of when we met, so it's kind of cool. But anyways, in 2010, he got handpicked to be a part of the K-9 MOS, or his job, so to speak, and what the military calls it. And he had to go to Lackland, Texas for 3 months for training. So basically what K-9, or a K-9 military police K-9 handler is they're the ones that get to work with dogs. Bomb dogs, drug dogs, dogs that you see when they're looking for a suspect. That's what my husband's job was. He got to train dogs. And so when he first got the job, he had to go to Lackland Air Force Base for 3 months for training. And I'm not sure if everyone's aware of this, but when it comes to the military, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, all of the canines come from Lackland Air Force Base specifically. That's the only spot that the dogs are. And they actually have a puppy program where some breeds are specifically bred for that type of dog because it responds well to this type of a work environment. So some dogs come right out of the puppy program and go right into working and being handled by their handlers. So my husband went to Texas for 3 months under some pretty intense and stressful conditions to go do training to learn how to become a handler. And I am actually on his Facebook page right now. Let me see if I can find a video to kind of show you what my husband's job was in the military. So I'm gonna flip my camera and kind of push play and let you guys see what his job was. Just a little snippet, I think. So yeah, that was my husband training in Lackland with his dog for 3 months. So for 3 months, this is his entire life. And he actually ended up graduating from K-9 school. There we go. Sorry, for some reason my phone got dark. That's okay. He actually ended up graduating from K-9 school on my birthday. So that was really, really cool. I got to watch him walk across stage and get his awards and get his recognition for actually graduating and passing school, which is kind of really cool. Like basically when he was training, learning how to become a dog handler, it was a lot of, bite work, learning how to control the dog, learning how to teach the dog to, find certain scents or being able to find actually people in like hidden areas. So that was his job pretty much. And so he was started out in 2010, and then he actually had to go on a deployment because they needed people. So in 2012, I think it's 2012, he was in Afghanistan for a year. So that was kind of an intense time. I started working, I had my kids, and he was gone. And I should have expected that, being, military, they're that's their job. They get deployed, they go places, they do a lot of things. They're away from home a lot of times. That's the military. And so he got deployed. And so he was deployed for a year in Afghanistan, and in that year, I worked and took care of the kids and was dealing with a lot of things in my personal life. And then he came home. And when he came home, he went right back into working with the dogs and doing canine. And let me tell you what, that schedule was really, really rough. He was working 24 hours on, 24 hours off, 7 days a week. He didn't have days off. He didn't have downtime because at that point in time, canine itself was so small, and they didn't have the massive amounts of people like you do in a regular kind of MOS, like in the military police, where they have battalions and they have different companies. Canine was its own teeny tiny company, and that was it. And that was for the whole entire post, all of Fort Stewart. So my husband was working constantly working. Like I said, 24 hours on, 24 hours off. And it was hard. It was really hard. I was like, wow. But he loved it. He loved working with dogs. He loved doing what he was doing. He's always wanted to be a dog handler. He's always wanted to do this job. So, he just sucked it up and did what he had to do. And he's good at it. And I got to watch him do a lot of amazing things with being a dog handler, more than I had ever thought that I was going, to get to see, which for me, that is absolutely amazing that he's had this kind of job and this kind of experience, because it is special. I feel like it's a very unique job that he has. Not everybody can say, oh yeah, I was in the military and I handled dogs for the military. And a lot of people kind of don't know what all that entails. So dogs in the military, they live in a kennel, and it's air conditioned, and they have 24/7 supervision. So soldiers will sleep with, in the building, in the barracks building, with these dogs 24/7 to make sure that nothing goes wrong with them. Because sometimes, depending on what breed of dog it was, they could have, stomach issues. They could have PTSD because they've already been working this job for so long and have been downrange and been on deployments and seen things and gone through things. So some dogs do suffer from PTSD. Some dogs are new. It's a lot of different aspects. And these handlers work with these dogs day in and day out to build this kind of working relationship and trust within each other. And it's incredible. It is incredible. I have never been so amazed by some of the things that I've got to watch and see, because my husband has met so many incredible people in this job. I mean, some of our best friends have come from him working with dogs and them doing the same thing. It's awesome to watch this. And the one thing that I think people think is, oh, they're dogs, they're pets, and military working dogs are just that. They are military property. The government owns them. Those dogs never get to come home with the handlers until they are retired, or certain situations come up and the handlers are like, look, I would love to adopt this dog. I would want to make it part of my family. And then it's a case-by-case basis whether or not that happens. And so for the dogs that cannot be adopted, the military takes care of them until their last days, and takes care of them very well. 24/7 supervision. They have on-call vets just in case anything happens. The handlers are there. They have a job, and they are kind of, in an instance, they are kind of, secluded so that they never lose their focus. Because some of these dogs are sniffing out bombs. They're finding IEDs. They're saving, humans, and working in certain situations where it's not necessarily safe for a person. But a dog can get into teeny tiny crawl spaces, and a dog's sense of smell and their detection abilities are so much more better than a human's that they make this job just, you know, incredible. They save lives. Like, a military working dog is absolutely one of the best weapons that the military has, and they're treated like that. It wasn't always the case, and I know that from my husband being in the military, and I know in Vietnam, all that stuff. I understand that. But the military is taking strides to ensure that that never happens again. And so a lot of things have happened recently where I've seen, you know, handlers being reunited with their dogs, and the dogs being able to live out their lives with handlers that have, you know, got to handle them previously. And it's incredible. And my husband was great at his job. And we were fortunate enough that, you know, the military took very good care of us. I understood from the get-go, from the first time I met my husband, that, you know, this was his job. This is what he signed up to do, and he was very, and still is very proud that he was a soldier and he served our country. He's never, ever, ever regretted it. There's times now that he's been out where he's like, God, I wish I would have stayed in. I miss it. I miss it every day. And it's a lifestyle, and it takes a very strong man and a very strong woman and a very strong marriage and relationship to go and to endure a military lifestyle. You know, my husband was deployed and gone a lot. I mean, he was deployed twice. He went to Korea for a year in 2013. He was in Korea for a year, and I was back stateside, and he was gone, you know, and then training, and then he, with being military canine handler, he had to get certified to do that job. So he had to go to certification and all this stuff where he was gone, and it's just part of the job. It's part of the job. And it kind of, it sucked. There were, you know, Christmas, New Year's, all those big holidays that are just family oriented, and he wasn't there, and it kind of just sucks sometimes because he was gone, and it was an empty feeling, and I missed him, and I wished he would have been home, and he wished he would have been home. And, you know, you forego that because this is your job. You're putting your life on the line for your country, for your family, to protect everyone in this country from, you know, terrorism and evil people that just want to do harm to innocent lives. He understood that. You know, he signed on the dotted line, and he understood what he signed up for. And when I married him, I always understood, and I joke, that he was government property. Yes, I married him, but that Army was his first wife, and I was his second wife, and I knew that, and I understood that. And there would be times where it would suck, but the times that I got to see, you know, like this, him training his dog and him doing demonstrations for the public, just being so proud of him. And I have never felt the pride for our country that I felt when my husband was in uniform. Like, that flag took on a whole new meaning. I have never, and still to this day, you know, when I see someone in uniform, it's just, it brings so much pride, and it gives me pride to know that I'm in a country, I live in a country where a complete stranger will put their life on the line, not only for me, for my family, but for everybody. Like, to me, that's incredible. And, you know, there were so many incredible moments that happened, you know, with my husband, and just, you know, our friends, and understanding how the military works, and all of it. Like, as a whole, it really has kind of transformed, you know, my mentality on the military. Like, they're hardworking men and women, and I would just be in awe, you know, of some of his coworkers, because they were, you know, dealing with the same thing, you know, having the same thing, you know, going to work, and wives and kids, and, you know, it just, like, makes me just in awe. Like, they work so hard. Like, you couldn't pay me enough money to put on that uniform and do what they do. Not a chance in this world. Nope, couldn't do it, wouldn't do it. But my husband did it every single day, and every single day I watched him put on his uniform and put on those boots and go out the door and, you know, do what he said he was going to do. And I'm always so proud of him for that and so thankful. And if it wasn't for, people like my husband and our good friends, there would have been, I think, some very bleak times in our country. And one thing that I will say is I have a whole new respect for and a new understanding for what my grandparents went through, because my grandfather was in the military. And my mom told me, oh, well, your grandfather would go to Germany for like 3 months at a time, and then I wouldn't see him, and then we would miss him. And back then it was a lot different. And now with technology, you can Skype and you can FaceTime, and there's all these neat apps you can talk and text, and it keeps it more interactive. And I think that's fortunate, because these soldiers, they miss their families. And sometimes you're talking like, they're missing birthdays, they're missing family, they're missing weddings, and they're missing their children being born. They're having to watch from Skype, watching their kids be born. And to me, that just shows their dedication. And so I literally am so grateful that the military provided for us as well as it did. And we have met, I've met my best friends through this experience. My husband's best friend is now my best friend and is like a brother to me. And we just laugh sometimes about all these crazy stories that we have and experiences that we shared because of that. And I am so fortunate, knock on wood, that my husband served his country. He made it home, because there was his second deployment where that didn't happen. My husband's company was actually on the news back in 2012 for an event that happened, and it completely changed everything for the both of us. Because as a military wife, you understand their duty and their obligation to their job and to what they have to do. And you always keep it kind of in the back of your mind that there is a slim possibility that something could go wrong and they might not make it home. And I try to, I push that in the back of my mind, thank God. Because that thinking like, oh, he's not going to come home, or something, that would drive me crazy. That would drive me absolutely insane. So I kind of pushed it in the back of my mind. And there was an instance where that almost became my reality. And I had never felt like something knocked the wind out of me so quick in my entire life. And then found out that he was okay. There, it was fine. There are certain things that weren't fine, but it's all right. So, all in all, my experience with my husband being in the military was a positive one. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have been able to take care of, us as well as he has, and we wouldn't have met so many incredible people, and he wouldn't have got to travel and had so many experiences. Like, I'm kind of jealous, and I tell him this all the time. I kick myself in the butt every single day, because when he was going to Korea, I didn't really want to go, and at that time I was like, nah, I don't want to go. I should have went. When in my entire life am I going to live in Korea? Never. Like, never. Like, that would have been an incredible experience, and I didn't take it. And I kick myself in the butt for that every single day. But he absolutely loved it. He had an amazing time. And it was really cool to hear him talk about that and understand the different cultures and all that stuff. Like, that's really cool to me that, he lived this life where he got to go travel, and he got to go see Afghanistan twice, and he got to go to Korea, and he's seen, Colorado, and he's trained and done all this stuff. It's amazing, incredible to watch. And so I feel like, we're fortunate. We got to live this incredible life through the military, and we got to meet incredible people, and we will never, ever regret that, ever. Not for a second. So I basically just wanted to kind of share this experience of, my husband's job and what we kind of did and where we were, and give everybody the kind of understanding of what my husband did and how we met and everything. And basically that is it. So I'm going to stop rambling because I tend to do that when I get excited. And I will see you next time. Bye.